Hi, Sarah here. Welcome back. Today I'm responding to or hopping on the tarot anti-bucket list tag that Amy of Strength Reversed made. She made this video like 2 years ago, October 2022. I checked. I'm just looking through my list of video ideas. I just felt like doing this one. So the gist of this tag is it's essentially goals I don't have. Amy mentioned a story in her video about how she was at the mall and seeing someone do tarot readings at the mall and how she felt like a twinge of envy or jealousy and feeling like, oh, she could do readings at the mall too, but then later realizing she doesn't actually want to do that. I really resonate with that kind of feeling. I also have feelings of like envy or jealousy that I later realize or remember, like I can appreciate things that other people do without doing it for myself. So that's the gist or the vibes, the energy that I'm bringing to this video. What are some tarot related goals that I don't have? I don't think anything I'm saying is that groundbreaking. A lot of my list actually just overlaps with a lot of Amy's list. I'm probably repeating things that other people have said who have responded to this tag, but the benefit of me making this video is so that I can watch it back for myself later and I can remind myself why I don't want to do these things. I can appreciate these things in other people without having to do them myself, like I've said. For now, this is what's on my tarot anti-bucket list. So first on the list is I will not make a tarot related business. I have already done the small business route, the one-person business runner type deal. Let me show you. These are crochet plushes that I have made. I learned to crochet when I was like 16 or 17, and I was already selling like the next couple years because I was so excited to learn how to make crochet plushes and people liked my work. And then when I was 22 or 23, I started making it basically a small business. So I accepted requests. Oftentimes people would request dolls. They also requested Pokemon. And through taking people's requests, I really got better at crochet. I was challenged to make things that I wouldn't have made for myself. I was challenged to finish projects all the way through instead of scrapping them halfway through as if I was just working for myself. My business was going pretty strong for 3 years. And then a couple years after that, like still taking commissions on the side. And now my crochet business is on like an indefinite hiatus because I have plenty of other priorities right now, like this tarot YouTube channel. So I've already done the small business route. I've already done my time of like handling customer requests, following up back and forth with customers, delivering a product, keeping myself accountable for finishing and delivering product. I just don't feel like having another business or another stressor like that at this time. Also, I feel like with creating a business, it should be something that you opt into, not something that everyone feels like they are obligated to do or that they must do. I think a lot of people who crochet, for example, they are like so excited about selling, but their work isn't that up to par. Then again, there is a customer base for everybody. I guess I'm surprised too that when I was 16 or 17, people wanted to buy my work. But I think that with tarot, there's just so much competition out there, especially on like the interwebs, and especially where I live in Los Angeles, there are so many tarot readers already out there. I don't feel like adding myself to the mix. I don't like competition. I don't want to hustle and do any of that. It just feels too competitive for me. So because I don't have a goal of eventually making a business or eventually like increasing my tarot levels somehow to be business standard, in my opinion, this way I can just focus on enjoying tarot and enjoying nerding out about tarot. The other thing I'll mention that I've learned about reading tarot for others, and another reason why I won't do like a tarot reading business, is that in my first couple years of doing tarot, I was so eager to do readings for other people. And I think that's a great way of learning to read the cards and learning to apply cards to my life or to other people's lives. But a downfall that I've come to realize is that I need to be more mindful of how to deliver the message of the cards to other people. So if I was just doing a reading for myself, I could get really into details of the different cards. I can get really deep into the numerology. I can get really excited about the connections between different cards. But when I'm reading for other people, a lot of the time, the other person isn't looking for like all the 20 connections that I'm making within the cards. Oftentimes, what the querent wants to receive is literally just the answer, especially as like concise as possible. I mean, if I were receiving a reading, I would honestly want it to be as concise as possible too. I think a lot of the nerdiness and excitement, that's just not something that most querents will enjoy or look forward to because they don't have the tarot knowledge. They don't have the actual interest in tarot. They just want to receive a reading. So essentially, I'm saying that the interest that I have in tarot isn't as easily translated into doing readings for people who are not interested in tarot. So yeah, that's one of many factors into why I just don't really care for having tarot as a business at this time. Another thing on my tarot anti-bucket list is I don't really care to learn about all the different correspondences that go into the tarot. For example, astrology, chakras, Kabbalah, none of those really interest me. I am mildly interested in astrology, but I'm honestly not sure if I actually am interested or if it's because I'm surrounded by astrology everywhere that I tell myself I want to be interested in it. But when a resource says that this card represents like Virgo and Gemini, that doesn't mean much to me. That doesn't make sense because those are both zodiac signs. Let me try again. When a resource says that a card represents Venus and Gemini, that doesn't make much sense to me because I just don't have the foundation or the interest to learn about what those mean. I am interested in learning about planetary associations, but the 12 zodiac signs, I just don't have too much knowledge or interest into distinguishing what each of the 12 actually mean. I am agnostic, so the way that I approach tarot is just very secular, more focused on psychology and science than anything too spiritual. The only correspondences or associations that I do read with and am interested in are numerology and like elemental associations. The other correspondences don't interest me. They just kind of go over my head, and that is okay. I still get a lot of value from tarot, and my brain is still very excited with the tarot as is without these extra correspondences. Next on my tarot anti-bucket list is mediumship or ancestor work, especially with my own specific ancestors. This does feel like a bummer to say out loud because I am Vietnamese, and a lot of Asian cultures, including Vietnamese culture, like we do revere our ancestors. A lot of Vietnamese households will have like a shrine or an altar dedicated to ancestors, but I don't feel like doing mediumship with my own specific ancestors. I grew up not having very much connection to my grandparents. My mom's mom, I saw her like once every few years. I didn't have much of an emotional connection to her. And for my dad's parents, his mom passed away the year that I was born, so obviously I never got to meet her. And then his dad was in Vietnam like my entire life. There's only one time that I can remember actually meeting him, and he passed away a few years after that. Also, my dad has like 10 plus siblings, and I just don't know what my grandpa would have thought of me as my dad's child, you know? There's a lot that I could say about my feelings about having grown up without grandparents in my life compared to my friends or classmates who did have grandparents and who always had stories about going to grandma's house and like what grandma and grandpa like made for dinner. I just don't have stories like that. I don't have a connection with my grandparents like that. And honestly, in the context of like tarot, witchiness, mediumship, I am not that interested in learning about what my grandparents would have thought of me, what they would have done or said. There's just not much of an emotional connection there. And again, it does feel like kind of a bummer to say, but this is just the reality of how I feel. The person that I am now, like having been born and raised in America, in California, being a bit queer, a bit weird in the brain, speaking English primarily and not Vietnamese, like I just don't know what my grandparents would have thought of me or the previous, great grandparents and everyone before that. I don't know what they would have thought of me, and I don't know how it would really help my life or give me closure in any way to know what they thought of me. And also, direct ancestors aside, I have been around like lots of Vietnamese adults growing up. I feel like a lot of my interactions with Vietnamese adults growing up has always been about my accomplishments, my grades in school, what I do so well. I, from a very young age, have always had this identity of being like a good child, a studious child, a diligent child, the one who accomplishes so much. Like I was just defined and talked with about my accomplishments, not about the nerdy interests that I had or the random friends I made in school or I don't know, the fan fictions I wanted to write. Like none, I mean, obviously you're not going to talk about that with adults, but like I didn't have any friends or any family members who I could talk with on a human level. I was just a trophy, I think, for a lot of my life. And that's probably a factor in why I'm not that interested in learning about what past family members who have passed on might have thought of me or what they would say to me now. I'm rambling, so I'll wrap it up there. So essentially, mediumship, ancestor work with my own specific ancestors, just not really a goal of mine. The last thing I'll mention for my tarot anti-bucket list is there's just a bunch of decks that I won't buy. I actually made a couple videos related to this topic last year. They're called 11 Reasons Why I Won't Buy a Deck A lot of those reasons that I mentioned in those videos still apply. So Sarah from the future, make sure you watch those videos. Remember, certain decks, they just don't really vibe with you. Remember that. Some reasons I can remember now off the top of my head are no Rider-Waite-Smith clones. I really want a different interpretation than just someone with 10 swords stuck in them. No astrology-based decks. Remember, Sarah from the future, you don't like astrology that much. You don't need to buy decks based on astrology. Oracle decks that only have keywords. Sarah from the future, remember, you just want to use tarot instead of oracle when you want to read cards. Anyway, yeah, there's a whole list of types of decks that I won't buy. Me from the future, I hope you remember to not spend money on decks that you are probably not going to like. They look good on paper, they look good in other people's hands, but probably not on your desk. That's okay. That's okay. We can appreciate decks and appreciate that other people are excited about these decks without having to buy them for ourselves. So that's my brief tarot anti-bucket list. And real quick, I want to mention some things that are on my bucket list. Just 3 things. One is I want to get a past life reading. I know I've just mentioned that I am agnostic and not spiritual, and also I don't really care about what my past ancestors have to say about my life. So it's like, oh, why would you want a past life reading? Like, what would they have to add to your life? I'm curious about it. The concept just really fascinates me. I would like to find someone reputable who I know I can trust and can lay out concepts to me that I can be receptive to and not feel like it's too woo or too out of touch. And I'm just really curious what this past life reading would add to my life. Second on my bucket list for the far future, whenever I get to it, is I would like to create a deck. Or if not a tarot or oracle deck, then at least a zine. I know creating a deck takes a lot of work, so I know it's not something that I am eager to do like right away. It'll take a lot of time for the inspiration to come to me. There's a few different ideas I have for a deck, but also it's okay if I don't create a full-on deck. If I create a zine, that would be pretty fun too. These 3 zines were sent to me by Wesley of 22 Zines. I just love how portable they are, and yet they're still so packed with information. And it seems so accessible. Like I can just make it at home and create it in any format that I want. And, you know, it could be really fun to create a tarot-related zine. Oh yeah, and Tarot Magpie also made a zine, so this is also inspiring me. They've made 3 zines so far, and they're all based around tarot spreads and tarot prompts. I'm thinking I could make the zine myself, or I can make it a little bit of a collaborated zine with me and my tarot friends in the area, you know, us Asian tarot folks and our collab Asian tarot zine, who knows? But yeah, that's on the bucket list. And the third thing on the bucket list is I want to attend a tarot convention. I know that there's the Tarot Symposium in the Pacific Northwest sometimes, whenever that happens. Maybe next year, if I have the brain space to go, I would love to make a trip. But if not next year, then of course there will be future years. I don't go to conventions or festivals super often, but when I do, I have a great time. I had an amazing time at Stationery Fest in New York in August. So I'm looking forward to going to a tarot convention in the future, just enjoying seeing all the tarot vendors and tarot people in person, getting to show and tell decks with each other, getting to go to maybe tarot related panels. That all sounds really fun and really exciting. So that was my tarot anti-bucket list, goals I don't have, and a few items on my bucket list, goals I do have. And with that, that is all I got for today. Thanks for watching. Bye.